The more virgin our eyes are, the more we have to say. The most detestable habit in all modern cinema is the homage.
Orson Welles once said, "A long playing full shot is always what separates the men from the boys. Anybody can make a movie with a pair of scissors and a 2-inch lens." And his movie, Touch of Evil, opens with an audacious moving shot that goes for almost 3.5 minutes before it cuts. While this is not the first long take in cinema history, it was the metaphorical gauntlet thrown down to fellow filmmakers who saw the move as the ultimate act of cinematic bravado. It was later utilised by filmmakers such as Martin Scorsese and Brian De Palma, in Goodfellas and Bonfire of the Vanities respectively. But recording an entire movie in one shot has only been feasibly possible since digital video's takeover from celluloid.
When my father decided he wanted to make rope, he would only do it in the way as one continuous thing, which is the way you would watch a stage play.
Right from the beginning, he told me he was going to do it as a play, and with, I think, 9 takes for 9 reels, something like that. And that interested him because it hadn't been done. Seemed to me to be a gimmick, but who was I? He was the great Hitchcock.
The movie Rope is reported to be the first film which made it look like it was done in one shot. But it isn't. In spite of the fact that 35mm movie cameras of the time being enormous, they held approximately 12 minutes of film. So every time they came to the end of a reel, they had to hide the edit to make it seem continuous.
He has to close in on someone's back, reload the camera, and then pull back again from the back. So you see really what he's trying to hide.
You forget about the filmmaking for almost 10 minutes at a time, and then the distracting edit comes. The few cuts that go by without note are the straight edits. But what annoys me about this movie, and it is a good movie, is what the filming style does to this story.
Oh, he was thrilling in that new thing with Bergman. What is it called now? The something of the something. No, that was the other one. This was just plain something. You know, it was sort of, you know.
Right on the tip of my tongue.
There is some deliciously comic dialogue in there, but the party, which is the main conceit of the protagonist, lasts only 20 minutes. Were this shot as a conventional movie, you could have time lapses and cutaways, so 20 minutes of screen time feels like it covers 3 hours of party. But everything is shot in real time, meaning 60 seconds of the character's life is 1 minute's worth of watch time. So we see people enter, chat and leave in the same time span as hitting your snooze button twice. Not much of a party, is it? The first time I remember seeing a one-shot feature film being attempted for real was the Mike Figgis mini-DV shot feature film Time Code, which has 4 single-shot movies playing out at once in a split screen, which occasionally intersect.
I had a deal at Sun Pictures at that time, and I had to tell them everything I was shooting and give them the option. And the head of the studio was a unique man called John Kelly, who had produced for Kubrick and everybody. And I told him the idea. He said, "Why don't you do it here? Because the technology is so current, and we're called Sony Pictures, and we make cameras also. This is an amazing opportunity." So long story short, he commissioned it. He said, "You don't have to. I'll green light it right now. This is at lunch. And could you do it for $4 million?" And I was thinking like 20 grand. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it would be a push, John, but I think we tread on the now. I had no idea what they spent my money on because it certainly wasn't on the film.
The film is kind of edited in a way. It switches between the 4 stories audio, drawing your attention away from one corner of the screen to another. It's a laudable experiment in a way to tell a story, but you'll note not one that has been repeated, because it's just kind of boring.
If you don't frame your work correctly, as in you don't say, "Hey everyone, it's an art house movie and it's this," they just ignore you. So at a certain point on this panel, he asked me another question about being in Las Vegas, and I said, "Can I just address one very small issue, which is the Russian Ark?" I'm sure it's a wonderful film, made in 2004. I did 4 real-time films at the same time in 1999. I just want to make that point, for the record, And it's very interesting in general. One of the things I think was getting at it, and I wrote the article in The Guardian, was that the UK has these kind of almost invisible clubs. If you're in the art house club, You can make the most boring film in the history of cinema.
Russian Ark was actually released in 2002, and I believe it is what most people consider to be the first fully one-take feature film. Set and shot in St. Petersburg's stunning Winter Palace, we are in the point of view of the narrator as he follows the Marquis de Castine through the highlights of Russian history. Like most of Russian cinema, it has a whiff of propaganda to it, and your feelings towards Russia both then and now may colour your opinion to the film. My problem is simple. While undeniably beautiful, the film has zero story. The whole film seems to exist to say, we did it first, aren't we great? Like the whole country is still bitter from losing the space race. It's just wandering from beautiful room to even more beautiful room, with the voiceover plugging in the gaps in the audience's historical knowledge. And because of the one-take nature, you have to keep all the errors in, from very obvious looks at the camera to flubbed lines.
Videos? Videos?
Что-то.
Что-то... не знаю.
Останусь.
This scene looks like the actor in black is reacting to something else, and they've replaced the off-camera voice to make it make sense, because there is no way to cut around a bad performance, and that will always be the issue for a film like this.
Deiner Privatbank, Limburg & Co. Wir wissen, dass in dem kleinen Tresor 50.000 Euro liegen. Und die will ich haben. Du schuldest mir was.
Machen wir nicht.
Hey.
Hey, wir machen safe. Hey, wir machen so.
Out of all of the films I'm talking about in this video, this film, Victoria, is by far the best. It's about a Spanish woman living in Germany who's lured into being a getaway driver for some criminals.
We talk about this one take all the time, but it's also very important that we didn't have this just like a bet playing around. This is not the one take. I mean, okay, it dominates the film, it's at the center of the film, but at the same time, it's completely unimportant. What is important is what can happen between the people, the nuances, and the kind of concentration and commitment the actors need. That's what it's about. We say, okay, we're creating something. It's not just about managing somehow, but we're trying to have these nuances, mistakes being made, things which could go wrong, something which is not perfect. Where I often have the feeling that cinema always seeks for the perfect, but we don't want to see the perfect. We want to see closeness to disaster and maybe compulsiveness, pressure, aggression even. All that is also part of cinema. And sometimes I have the feeling that cinema is kind of a circus animal or something which you go and stroke, and it is not wild anymore. And we want to live through this, the idea of danger, and that's why we go to the cinema, and that's why we did it all in one take.
That is a great reason to make a film in this style. Not because you want it to be perfect, but because you want it to be rough and raw. And that works in the movie's favour. The dialogue is largely improvised and naturalistic, so there are no lines to forget, and the story is so simple that it never feels contrived in the logistics of getting characters and the camera from one scene to another.
We rehearse the scenes before the one take, obviously, and we talk with him. I talk a lot about Victoria, about all the background on all the stuff, and I think I was feeling free and I was feeling safe because he's a director, but he's also an actor, and I could feel the difference between this concrete thing because he trusts actors.
What stands this film apart from the others in this video is the fact that this story is driven by action.
This January, I am doing something that has never been done. I am shooting an entire film in under 2 hours and live streaming it directly into cinemas.
Lost in London is a comedy, written, directed and starring Woody Harrelson, based on real-life events which led to him being arrested in the UK. And it's the only one of these films, possibly the only film ever, that was broadcast live to theatres.
Well, you know, I'm a big fan of theater. I love theater, and so I I wanted to merge theater and film. And so I had this thing that I wrote based on something that actually happened to me. And I thought, it'd be cool to do this in real time. The time that I thought you couldn't really do something in real time. But since then the technology developed, and so I thought, I'm going to shoot this in under 100 minutes in real time. But then I thought, well, where's the theater in that? Because there's no live audience. Well, that was the thought that has since caused me many sleepless nights, including last night. And so now, that's what we're trying.
What Woody Harrelson said right there is something of a bone of contention with me. That being the assertion that these films being done in one take somehow makes them theatre. It's nonsense. Theatre is a totally different thing. There's a proscenium arch, there is the suspension of disbelief, there's a completely different acting style. The cast are in the same room as you. Movies are seen through the eye of a lens which can move in every direction. As soon as you have a close-up, you are doing something that no stage play can ever do. These things are not the same just because you had to learn a lot of lines all at once instead of going scene by scene. It is a thoroughly stupid observation made by idiots.
Normally when you shoot a film, it's multi-camera, split up into scenes, they're split up into a schedule. You can go in, you can pre-light things, that is a luxury. On this we have one camera and 2 square miles of London rigged with antennae to pick up the signal from the camera. There are many things that could go wrong.
The movie is just a load of events rather than a domino effect of disaster, and it has none of the tension that the making of has, which is genuinely stressful watching them struggle to get the technology to work.
This is a very ambitious project, and you're all part of it. If on the day someone knocks that camera flying, we've only got one camera, we cannot go back. It's a single take film. That camera goes flying, we've got no film.
While it is an impressive achievement, I don't see many people re-watching the film now it isn't being broadcast live. I will let you into a little secret. I don't like mawkishly sentimental war films. So maybe I was never meant to like Sam Mendes' 1917, but to say I hate it would be an understatement. The story is about 2 soldiers that cross into enemy territory to deliver a message that could save the lives of over 1,000 men.
My idea was 2 hours of real time and, no cuts. Nothing between the audience and the characters, and that feeling that you're sort of locked into this ticking clock, and you're also experiencing distance and difficulty with the men, and there's no way out. That was part of why I made it in this way.
The story actually covers more than 2 hours worth of action. As a result, the film suffers from the same problem Hitchcock's Rope does, which is having to speed up the action to keep the story going. Like this scene where Schofield is offered a ride. He gets in a truck and is transported with a group of other soldiers for about 2 minutes. Then the vehicle gets stuck in some mud, so he gets out and helps push. Then they drive for a further 2 minutes, and then the protagonist parts ways with the company. That's a 4-minute journey at quite a low speed with a 2-minute pit stop. The place he was picked up from would still be in sight.
I mean, look, I'll tell you where I'm coming from, where 1917 would be truly, truly impressive, is if they did the movie with 6 cuts and that's it. Yeah. All right, no, not 7-minute cuts and another 8 minutes and then another 7 minutes and another 6 minutes and then invisible.
But Quentin, it's all invisible cuts, right? How do
it's all
I'm just a layman.
Well, no, they're all connected.
Quentin Tarantino argues in this clip from the Club Random podcast that the film would have had more impact if it did straight edits at significant points in the story. While that may be interesting, I doubt it would have improved the film enough for my tastes, as ultimately this film felt like watching somebody else play a World War I themed computer game.
How do you wash your hands, love?
I know.
Sorry, what?
In the sink.
In the sink. Which
All right, Andy.
Which sink?
Andy.
No, hang on, Carly.
No.
Carly, wait a minute, love. This is Carly, this is fucking basic GCSE fucking cooking.
And it's her first week, so it's my responsibility.
Not a first week in any fucking kitchen, though, is it?
Okay, boiling point, also known as Yes Chef in some countries. This is by no means a bad film. When I heard the plot, which is about Chef Andy Jones struggling to keep his kitchen running while dealing with personal issues and staff tensions and an unexpected visit from the health inspector, I thought, oh, that sounds good. Then I heard it was done in all one shot, and I said, another one?
I don't think there was any doubt in my mind that we were going to shoot it in any other way. For the story, primarily, because we wanted to portray how hectic that space is and how hectic the environment was. The best way to do that, I think, was to give the audience no chance to rest.
I don't see how not resting and being filmed in one shot have anything to do with each other. Uncut Gems is possibly the most nerve-wracking film I've seen in the past few years. It's edited like any other movie because it's characters and plot that create tension.
Phil and Matt could walk through the place and sort of map out the camera move, which was the first process of rehearsal.
Get here with Mary's, so loop round and spot me all the way back. Yeah. So start walking.
Then we start walking back. They have a chat about, oh, your hair looks nice, but it's very
This is exactly what I think lets these productions down. It's the meaningless waffle that you have to add to a script to get the camera from one location to another. If this was shot conventionally, it would just cut. But in these productions, the camera has to be led from one place to another, which is fine if it's done for a narrative reason. Otherwise, it's just shoe leather.
Yeah. It was beneficial, but also hilarious because we'd have like Phil and James just sort of like swapping places, miming different characters running through the kitchen, just so we could practice the moves and make sure it all worked. That was a fun stage of rehearsals.
Boiling Point is a good movie, but it doesn't feel like it has much of a narrative reason to be shot in one take to me. But it's a mild inconvenience, and I recommend it above and beyond the creative team's most recent project, Adolescence. Now, I have nothing against the cast of the production, they all seem like pretty good actors, and I have no political statements to say for or against the subject matter. I do, however, have one hell of a lot of complaints about how it was filmed. Now, this is a mini-series rather than a movie, and I loathe the way that Netflix makes TV shows, so maybe I shouldn't have watched it. And like all Netflix series, it is overlong. 25% of each episode would be on the cutting room floor where this shot like a normal show. And even more would have been edited out had they asked me. Episode 2 could be cut down to 15 minutes, and episode 4 seems to exist purely for a single scene. The problem is the show is largely conversations, so the camera is constantly circling from line to reaction. I find it really annoying to watch. And please won't somebody in the comments tell me that I'm not alone.
Do you know what? Musicians call it that moment of when you're in that moment of clarity and something just comes to you from the ether. We were literally, me and my mate were sitting in the car. My mate's Phil Barantini, by the way, who directed it. And we'd been asked to do a series based on a one-shot format because we did a little film called Boiling Point. And it was actually Brad Pitt's company, name drop. And Jeremy Kleiner, and they'd asked Phil to, see if we would be interested in coming up with something. So basically, the original concept was like 8 hours and find a character, create a story about this character, and then make 8 hours worth of 1 hour shots and, make a series out of it. And I said, no. I said, that would be boring. I don't want to do that. I don't want it to be about me and one character. And we were literally, honest to God, this no word of a lie, we were literally in the car and I went, I know what it is. And he went, what? And I just went, boom. It's about a young boy and it's da-da-da and it's this and it's... And I had the outline for all 4 episodes in my head. And it literally just come that moment, that split second. And that's when I said, I think that's what it is. What do you think of that? And Phil was like, that sounds brilliant.
So the idea of making the show in a series of one-shot episodes came before the idea of the story, and the latter was made to fit the former. I can't deny that the story has resonated with a lot of people, and has even caused something of a moral panic for some. For me, editing is what makes telling stories on screen unique, as performance, photography, music and writing all have lives away from the screen. Editing does not. The legendary editor Walter Murch explains in his book that an edit should come when you blink your eye, as that's when your mind is taking in information. Without that edit, these films, though possibly very good, just don't really feel like movies to me. And they don't feel like theatre either. They feel like gimmicks.
But cinema depends on montage. Of course, this is a direct challenge now by films that have apparently no cuts in them. what is the value of that? There's this word that is overused now, which is immersive. The idea that somehow a film that doesn't have any cuts in it is more immersive. Personally, and we can talk about this in dialogue, I don't feel that. I think it's kind of the opposite, that cutting in the Fleming sense of the word, when the cutting is good or great, it's more immersive in the sense that it's more like dreams, which are this private theater that we all go into every evening and experience for 6 or 8 hours a night. But it's here with us. I don't think people will make lots of cutless films. It's just, it's very time consuming, and I think it other than the technical interest in, oh, how did they do that? It has a limited shelf life in my feeling, but that's something we can discuss.
If you have enjoyed this video, then perhaps consider clicking the like button and leaving me a comment down below. If this is your first time to the channel, then do check out my other videos, they're all kind of like this. If you've been here before, then perhaps consider clicking subscribe. You can support this channel by sending me a one-time donation via this website. Not that anyone does. But I'm Scott Kingsnorth, and I'm making a movie.